Welcome to the Recommended Daily Value Podcast, your daily dose into the health and wellness world.
Welcome back to the Recommended Daily Value Podcast, where we dive into everything health, fitness, and nutrition related 5 days a week in 5 minutes or less. This podcast is brought to you by Umzu, and I'm your host, Tyler Woodward. If you haven't subscribed already, what are you waiting for? Because today we're talking evidence. Specifically, we're talking about how evidence works and the hierarchy of evidence. As you're likely aware, there is a ranking order by which we define or sort evidence, with certain evidence being highly accredited, while other forms of evidence are highly debated or even discredited. To illustrate this hierarchy, I'll provide an example by level of evidence. This is by no means a perfect example, but it illustrates the point. So let's say your 20-year-old cousin swears eating a Big Mac a day skyrocketed his testosterone levels. This is anecdotal evidence. You decide to test it. You test your testosterone levels and proceed to eat a Big Mac daily for 30 days before retesting. This is a case study. You look online to see if this is unique to you. And apparently, daily Big Mac eaters average 10% higher testosterone levels than the population average. This is a cross-sectional study, or average by population. A researcher then decides to test it. First, they'll perform in vitro studies, which are studies performed on a cell culture. Basically, they'll use a bunch of cells that have been extracted from human tissue and then replicated and see what happens when the cells are given some Big Mac compared to the normal control feed. Then they'll test for certain markers before and after, in this case, testosterone and probably other parameters like estrogen and things like that are related to testosterone. If this goes well, they may go on to conduct this same study on animals, which is a hierarchy in and of itself based largely on how related the animals are to humans. With C. elegans, the roundworm, being ranked the lowest, followed by rats, and followed by other larger animals, with monkeys being ranked the highest. These are obviously known as animal studies. If these go well, the researcher may get approved by the FDA to conduct a study on humans, or a human trial. So let's say here that they take two groups, and for 30 days, one eats no Big Mac, and the other group eats one Big Mac a day, and again, they'll test their testosterone levels before and after. This is a case control study. The researcher then decides to test it over 10 years. They found that individuals who averaged one Big Mac a day had higher T levels than their non-Big Mac consuming counterparts. This is a cohort or longitudinal study, a study done on a specific population over time. Another researcher decides to test these findings with a randomized controlled study, or RCT. They compare two groups, one of which gets a placebo burger, let's say a Whopper, and one gets a Big Mac for 30 days, then test their testosterone levels before and after. In this RCT, which we'll consider a double-blind placebo-controlled study, neither the researchers nor participants know who's getting the placebo versus the Big Mac, which is an essential part of the study. Finally, a researcher decides to pull together all existing data on Big Macs and testosterone. In doing so, they exclude certain variables, including things like Big Mac eaters on TRT or Big Mac eaters under the age of 18 or over 72, whatever they decide to exclude. They summarize all these combined results from all this existing research into these decided parameters. This is what we call a meta-analysis or systematic review. Well, that's it for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it and found this useful. I know the Big Mac analogy wasn't perfect and it definitely doesn't increase your testosterone levels, but I thought it was beneficial. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit that subscribe button and to share with a friend. And remember, these opinions are my own based on my own research and experiences, and it's not medical advice. Till next time, be good.